Hi everyone, welcome back. Myself Anjita Aravind. Today we are starting a new topic, that is the endocrine system. And in this section I added just an introduction to the endocrine system. And from this you can understand the role of hormones in the endocrine system. First, we will start with the comparison of control by the nervous and the endocrine system. We already discussed about the nervous system. So, the nervous system and the endocrine system act together by coordinating the functions of our body systems. And we already studied that the nervous system acts through nerve impulses, that is the action potentials, which is conducted through the axons of the neurons, and at the synapses the nerve impulses trigger the release of the mediator, that is it releases the messenger molecules, and they are known as the neurotransmitters. And here in the endocrine system it also controls the body activities by releasing a mediator or a messenger, and here it is known as the hormones. And hormones are the mediator in the endocrine system. Now you will think, what is a hormone? Hormone is a mediator molecule, and that is released in one part of the body but regulate the activity of cells in other part of the body. And most hormones enter the interstitial fluid and then into the bloodstream, and the circulating blood deliver the hormone to the cells throughout the bodies. And both the neurotransmitter, which is present in the nervous system, and the hormones, which is present in the endocrine system, exert their effect by binding to receptors on the target cells, and several mediators act as both the neurotransmitters and hormones also. So here we can compare the nervous and endocrine system, that is the nervous system which transmit the messages to the neurotransmitters, and endocrine system which transmit the messages to the hormones, as the nervous system acts on specific muscles and glands, and the influence of the endocrine system is much broader, and it helps to regulate virtually all type of the body cells. Added an image which will shows the comparison of control by the nervous and the endocrine system. Some characteristics are taken, and the difference between the nervous and endocrine systems is given below. When we considering the mediator molecules, we already said that the nervous system, here the mediator molecule is the neurotransmitter, and in endocrine system it is hormones. And the site of mediator action in nervous system, the site of action is close to the site of release, and considering the endocrine system it is far from the site of release. And type of target cells, in nervous system it may be a muscle, that is the smooth cardiac or skeletal muscle cells, gland cells and other neurons. And in endocrine system it is cells throughout the body. And when we considering the time to onset of action and the duration of actions, it is typically within milliseconds in nervous system, and when we considering the endocrine system it takes seconds to hours or days of onset of action and for the duration. Now we will start the introduction to the endocrine glands. Before that, we will recall from the previous chapters what is exocrine gland and endocrine glands. We already studied about it. That is the body which contain mainly two kind of glands, that is exocrine and the endocrine glands. The exocrine glands, which means outside the body, which will secrete their products into the ducts that carry the secretion into the body cavities, into the lumen of the organs or to the outer surface of the body. And these products, none of these are hormones. And the exocrine glands may include sudoriferous, that is the sweat glands, sebaceous glands, mucus and the digestive glands. These are some of the example for the exocrine glands. And the second one is the endocrine glands. Endocrine means within the bodies, and they secrete their products. This product means the hormones into the interstitial fluid surrounding the secretory cells rather than into the ducts. That means the exocrine glands which is secrete their product into the duct, but the endocrine glands which will secrete the hormones into the interstitial fluid, and from the interstitial fluid the hormone diffuses into the blood capillaries, and blood carries them to the target cells throughout the bodies. And because of their dependence on the cardiovascular system to distribute their products, the endocrine glands are some of the most vascular tissues of the body. And here I added some examples for the endocrine glands. The endocrine glands which may include the pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal and the pineal glands. So these all about the exocrine glands and endocrine glands in our body. We already said that the endocrine glands which will secrete the hormones, but the several organs or tissues are not exclusively classified as endocrine glands but contain cells that secrete the hormones, and these include the hypothalamus, thymus, pancreas, ovaries, testes, kidney, stomach, liver, small intestine, skin, heart and adipose tissues, and also the placenta. These all are some organs or the tissues which will also secrete the hormones, but they are not came under the endocrine glands. And taken together, all the endocrine glands and hormones secreting cells constitute the endocrine system, and the science of the structure and the function of the endocrine glands and the diagnosis and treatment of the disorders of the endocrine system is commonly known as the endocrinology. And here I added an image which will shows the location of many endocrine glands, and also it shows other organs that contain the endocrine cells and the associated structures. And in this image we can see the pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid and parathyroid glands is here, and the thymus, adrenal glands and the gonads, that is the testes in male and the ovaries in the females, are seen in this image. When we considering the functions of the hormones, it mainly helps to regulate the chemical composition and the volume of the internal environment, and also helps to the metabolism and energy balance, and also helps to the contraction of smooth and cardiac muscle fibers, and it controls the growth and development process. And hormones also regulate the operation of reproductive system, and also the hormones which will help to establish circadian rhythms also. So these are the main functions of the hormones. So we already said that the endocrine cells which will secrete the hormones. So these hormones are traveled through the blood, and it will act on the specific site where they have to act. And here we will discuss the role of the hormone receptors. So the hormones which will travel throughout the body in the blood, and it affects only the specific target cells, and the hormones like the neurotransmitters, it will influences their target cells by chemically binding to the specific proteins, that is the receptors. And only the target cells for a given hormone have receptors that bind and recognize that hormones. For example, when we considering the thyroid stimulating hormone, that is TSH, it will bind to the receptors on the cell on the thyroid gland only, and it does not bind to the cells on the ovaries because the ovarian cells do not have the TSH receptors. So a specific hormones will attach or bind and recognize that hormones receptors only. And here we have to study two terms, that is down regulation and up regulation. That is, down regulation means if a hormone is present in excess amount and the number of target cell receptors may be decreased, and this effect is called down regulation. That is, the hormone is present in excess and that cell receptors, target receptors may be in decreased amount. It is known as the down regulation. And in contrast, when a hormone is in deficient amount and the number of receptors may be in increased amount, this phenomena is known as the upregulation and make us a target cells more sensitive to a hormone. So these are the down regulation and upregulation, the role of hormone receptors. Before studying the hormonal activity, we will discuss about the circulating and local hormones. Most of the endocrine hormones are the circulating hormones, and they pass from the secretory cells and that make them into interstitial fluid and then into the blood. And other hormones are the local hormones, and they act locally on the neighboring cells or on the same cells that secreted them without the first entering the bloodstreams. So these are the two type of hormones, that is the circulating and the local hormones. The circulating hormones pass from the secretory cells and they move into the interstitial fluid and then into the bloodstream. But the local hormones which may act locally on the neighboring cells or on the same cells itself. So here I attached an image which will shows the circulating hormones. The circulating hormones are carried through the bloodstreams to act on a distant target cells. So here we can see that the endocrine cells which will releasing the hormones and the circulating hormones which will pass through the blood capillaries, which will crosses the interstitial fluid and reaches the blood capillaries, and it passes through the blood capillaries and reaches the distant target cell receptors. So here we can see the hormone receptors and the circulating hormone activity. Here I added the image which will shows the mechanism of the local hormones. We already said that the local hormones which act locally on the neighboring cells or on the same cells as they secreted without the first entering into the bloodstream. So here we can see two types of cells, that is the paracrine cells and the autocrine cells. The local hormones that act on the neighboring cells are called the paracrine cells, and those that act on the same cells that secreted them are called the autocrine cells. So here we can see the paracrine cells which will secreting the hormones. It act on the paracrine receptors on the nearby target cells, and the autocrine cells which will secreting the hormones which will bind to the autocrine receptors on the same cell itself. So this is the mechanism of the local hormones. Here I added the chemical classes of the hormones. Chemically, the hormones can be divided into two broad classes, that those who are soluble in lipids and that those who are soluble in water. And the hormones are either lipid soluble, that is the steroid hormones, thyroid hormones and nitric oxide, or water soluble hormones, that is examples are amine hormones, peptides and protein hormones and eicosanoids hormones. And the water soluble hormones circulate freely in the plasma, but the lipid soluble hormones circulate bound to transport proteins. So this is the chemical classification of hormones, that is the lipid soluble and the water soluble hormones. And now we will discuss it detailed. So here we will discuss the summary of hormones by chemical classes, and here I added a table which will shows the chemical classes, hormones and its site of secretions. And first we will discuss about the lipid soluble hormones. The lipid soluble hormones which may include steroid hormones, thyroid hormones and nitric oxide, and the three are noted here. The steroid hormone and its example aldosterone, its structure is there, and the thyroid hormone, that is the T3 and T4, and the T3 structure is given, and the last one is the nitric oxide, it is denoted as gas. And first we will discuss about the steroid hormones, and these are derived from the cholesterols, and each steroid hormone is unique due to the presence of different chemical groups attached at various sites on the four rings at the core of its structures, and these small differences allow for a large diversity of functions. Here we can see the aldosterone structure, and it is the basic structure of this aldosterone is came from the cholesterol molecules. And here is some example of the hormones, that is the aldosterones, cortisols and androgens, calcitriols, testosterone, estrogen and progesterones. These are the steroid hormones, and its site of secretion is given on its next box. And the second one is the thyroid hormones. There is the two thyroid hormones, that is T3 and T4, and the two thyroid hormones are synthesized by attaching iodine to an amino acid tyrosine. So an iodine is attached to an amino acid tyrosine which will form into a T3 or T4 molecules, that is the thyroid hormones. And the presence of the two benzene rings in this image, that is the T3 structure, we can see two benzene rings, and the presence of these two benzene rings within the T3 and T4 molecules make these molecules very lipid soluble. So the lipid soluble property is depends upon the two benzene molecules. And the last one is the nitric oxide. It is the gas. The gas nitric oxide is both hormone and also a neurotransmitter, and its synthesis is characterized by the enzyme nitric oxide synthase. So these are the lipid soluble hormones by the chemical classification. Here we can see the summary of the water soluble hormones. The water soluble hormones include the amine hormones, peptide and protein hormones, and also the eicosanoids hormones. First we will discuss about the amine hormones. Here I added the image of norepinephrine here, and the examples are there. The hormone example: epinephrine, norepinephrine, melatonin, histamine and serotonin, and their site of secretion on the third box. And the first one is the amine hormones are synthesized by the decarboxylation, that is removing a molecule of carbon dioxide and otherwise modifying certain amino groups. and they are called the amine because they retain the amino groups. And in this image or structure of the norepinephrine, we can see the amine group is retained there, and the catecholamine, that is the epinephrine, norepinephrine, and the dopamine are synthesized by modifying the amino acid tyrosines, and the histamine is synthesized from the amino acid histidine by mast cells and the platelets. And the serotonins, it's an example of hormone amines, and the serotonins and melatonin is derived from the tryptophans. So these are the main hormones, that is water soluble hormones, which comes under the amine groups. And the next one is the peptides and protein hormones. And peptides hormones and protein hormones are amino acids polymers, and the smaller peptide hormone consists of a chain of 3 to 49 amino acids, and the larger protein hormone include 50 to 200 amino acids. For example, the peptide hormones are antidiuretic hormones and oxytocin, and the protein hormones include the growth hormones and insulins. And the third one is the eicosanoids hormones, and these are derived from the arachidonic acids, and these are 20 carbon fatty acids. And the two major type of eicosanoids are the prostaglandins and the leukotrienes. Here we can see the image of the leukotrienes. So these are the water soluble hormones, comes under the chemical classification. Next we will discuss about the mechanism of the hormone actions. And the response to a hormone depends on both the hormone and the target cells, and the various target cells respond differently to the same hormones. For example, the insulin stimulates the synthesis of glycogen in liver cells and the synthesis of triglycerides in the adipose cells. So the responses of a hormone depends on both the hormone and the target cells. That's why the insulin, which will stimulate the synthesis of glycogen in the liver cells, but when it acts on the adipose cells, it increase the synthesis of the triglycerides. And the response may be synthesis of new molecules and changing permeability of the cell membrane, stimulating transport of the substance into or out of the cells, and altering the rate of metabolic actions and causing contraction of the smooth or cardiac muscles. These are some of the responses which may occurs after the action of the hormones. So this is the mechanism of the hormone action. We already said that the lipid soluble hormones, for example, the steroid hormone and thyroid hormone, which bind to the receptors within the target cells. And here we can see the mechanism of the lipid soluble hormones. And first, the free lipid soluble hormones. Here we can see the green color hexagon. It is noted as the free hormones. So the free hormone molecule diffuses from the blood and through the interstitial fluid and through the lipid bilayer of the plasma membrane into a cell. So it reaches the plasma membrane by crossing the lipid bilayers and also the interstitial fluid. It crosses the interstitial fluid and the lipid bilayers and it reaches the plasma membrane, and the cell is a target cell. So here it is denoted the target cell, and the hormone binds to and activate the receptor located within the cytosol or the nucleus. So here the cell is the target cells and the receptor is present, whether it is present inside the nucleus or in the cytosol. Now the receptor is noted, here it is denoted in the nucleus, and it binds on the receptor which is present in the nucleus and activate the receptor hormone complex and then alter the gene expression process. So here we can see the inside the nucleus there is a receptor and the hormone is bind with them, and it activates the receptor hormone complex and alter the gene expression process. So next step, the gene expression process will alter and the DNA become on or off modes, and it turn the specific genes of the nuclear DNA on or off. And then as the DNA is transcribed, the new messenger RNA, that is the mRNA. So next step, here we can see the mRNA and it will forms and leaves the nucleus. So when the mRNA is formed, it leaves the nucleus and enter the cytosol, and there it directs the synthesis of a new protein molecule, often an enzyme, on the ribosomes. So here we can see that when the mRNA is formed, it leaves the nucleus and reaches the cytosols, and it the newly formed mRNA to direct the synthesis of the specific protein on the ribosomes. So a new protein molecule is formed, and this new protein alters the cell's activity and causes the responses typically of that hormone. So this hormone's activity is produced by these newly produced proteins. So new protein alters the cell's activity. So this is the mechanism of the lipid soluble hormones which will enter into a target cell. Next we will discuss about the action of the water soluble hormones. Water soluble hormones example is the amine, peptide, proteins and eicosanoids hormones, but they are not lipid solubles and they cannot diffuse through the lipid bilayer of the plasma membrane and bind to the receptor inside the target cells. So instead of this mechanism, the water soluble hormones bind to the receptor that protrude from the target cell surface. So in this picture we can see that there is a receptor which is present on the target cell surface and the water soluble hormone is binding to that receptors. So the mechanism is the water soluble hormones. The water soluble hormone is considered as the first messenger and diffuses from the blood through the interstitial fluid and then bind to the receptor at the exterior surface of the target cells. And the hormone receptor complex which will activate a membrane protein called the G protein. Here we can see there is a blue color oval shape, that is a G protein, and so the hormone receptor complex will activate this membrane protein G protein, and when the activated G protein in turn activates the adenyl cyclase. When the G protein is activated, it activates the adenyl cyclase, and the adenyl cyclase convert ATP into a cyclic AMP because the enzyme active site is on the inner surface of the plasma membrane, and this reaction occurs in the cytosol of the cells. So the receptor hormone complex activate the G protein. When the G protein is get activated, it activates the adenyl cyclase. Adenyl cyclase will convert an ATP into a cyclic AMP, and the cyclic AMP is considered as the second messenger. It will activate one or more protein kinase. These protein kinase which may be free in the cytosol or bound to the plasma membrane also. So cyclic AMP activate the protein kinase, and the activated protein kinase phosphorylate one or more cellular proteins. So activated protein kinase phosphorylation. Phosphorylation means adds a phosphate group into it. So ATP is converted into ATP, ADP, and protein kinase phosphorylate one or more cellular proteins, and the phosphorylated protein in turn cause the reactions that produce the physiological responses. So the millions of phosphorylated protein causes the reaction that produces the physiological responses, same as to the hormones doing. So this is the mechanism of the water soluble hormones, and after a brief period of time an enzyme called phosphodiesterases, it inactivates the cyclic AMP. Thus the cell's response is turned off, and unless a new hormone molecule continue to bind to their receptor in the plasma membrane, it get inactivated. So the phosphodiesterases will inactivate the cyclic AMP, thus the mechanism will stop. So this is the mechanism of the water soluble hormones. Here we can see the hormone interactions and how a target cell responds to a hormone. It is based upon several factors, that is the hormone's concentration in the blood and the number of hormone receptors on the target cells, and influences exerted by other hormones, and some hormones work more effectively when a second hormone is present to assist them, that is the synergistic effect, and some hormones oppose the action of others, that is antagonistic effects. So the responses of a hormone is based on these all properties. Now we will discuss the control of the hormone secretions. The hormones are secreted in short bursts when needed, and the secretion is regulated by the signals from the nervous system and chemical changes in the blood and other hormones presence. And most hormone regulation is achieved via a negative feedback mechanism, and here we can see a negative feedback mechanism example, that is when there is an increased BP, the baroreceptors in certain blood vessels is get activated. It sends a nerve impulses into the control center in the brain, and the nerve impulses through the nerve impulses, it sends an output into the effectors, that is the heart blood vessels, and there is a decrease in the heart rate and the dilation of the blood vessels occurs, and this leads to decrease in the blood pressure, and it returns to the homeostasis when the responses bring the blood pressure back to the normal. So it is a negative feedback mechanism to control the hormone secretions. But there is also positive feedback mechanism is also there. Here we can see the positive feedback mechanism. Most hormonal regulatory system works via the negative feedback mechanism. We already said it, and but a few operative via the positive feedback mechanism. For example, during the childbirth, the hormone oxytocin stimulate the contraction of the uterus, and the uterine contraction in turn stimulate more oxytocin release. So it is a positive feedback mechanism. Here we can see the flowchart of the positive feedback mechanisms. Now that you have a general understanding of the roles of the hormones in the endocrine system, and now we will discuss next section about the various endocrine glands and the hormones they secrete. So today's session we discussed about the endocrine glands, its secretion, that is the hormones, and the various chemical classification of the hormones, water soluble and lipid soluble classification, its examples, and the mechanism of hormonal activity, and the positive and negative feedback mechanism, all are we covered. And the next session we will discuss about various endocrine glands and their secreted hormones and their functions. Thank you all.